If you record this,
I get it.
yeah, just make sure you download it to your computer so you can get us a
All
copy, please.
You and I'll talk when we're finished and make sure I do that right.
Okay, we'll do it this way. So before we get started, Matthew, I believe you're on here, right?
I am. Good morning.
Fantastic.
Good deal. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. My name is Matthew Young. I realize, gosh, there's some people on this call that maybe I've never met or never talked to. Just a really quick warm up. My name is Matthew Young. I operate Young Insurance Group. We represent Geico as our flagship carrier, but we are a broker on the property side, meaning that we write through many different partners. And that enables us to place pretty much any risk that we run across. We work with agents all over North Carolina. I know we have folks that represent our great state from one end to the other on this call, and I'm no different. I am not just do I tell you, hey, I can write in these areas, but I'm actually active in the areas. As we speak, I'm on my way to Asheville, and we spent a lot of last week at the coast, and of course, showed plenty to the central part of the state as well. That's my hub. But I wanted to tell you guys really quickly about Pat, an agent that called me right before Christmas. Now, Pat has paid attention, and she's heard me say I'm available till 10 p.m. every day of the year for you and your clients. So Pat took advantage of that and called at 5:45 right before the holiday. I think it was Thursday or Friday. And the situation went something like this. At 5:45 p.m., hey, Matthew, this is Pat. My client has a problem. They're buying a home. The value is almost $1 million, which can be a little bit of a limiter as far as getting homes through underwriting to insure them. And this home had an older roof as well, some other issues. And so the carrier that we selected to use, because we work with many different carriers and don't charge a fee to do that, they said, you know what, we're going to have to review this in underwriting for 24 hours. Well, guess what? Everyone waited to the last minute. They got turned down elsewhere, and they come to us as a last resort. So guess who has the closing delay? My philosophy is that if you guys will get involved, you can avoid being Pat and being helpless and hopeless, having your closing delayed. And again, we can normally work wonders, but we also have our limits. So I just encourage you as you go into 2023 and beyond, as we look to build on this year, is to ask yourself, how am I as an agent going to stand out to my clients? And the answer is this is 21 years of insurance industry speaking. It's not by being a transaction coordinator like many agents function as. It's about being a holistic guide, a holistic value. And when your client says, hey, Melissa, I'm going to buy a mortgage with pushing a button or going online or calling an 800 number or doing an app, or they do the same thing with insurance, guys, reel them back in and say, hey, it doesn't cost most of the time more to work with the real live local human. So when there's a problem, can you imagine if you have your insurance through an app and you have a house fire? So I just encourage you guys to, I'm sure Terry will be completely okay with this as well, consider a text or email introduction where you open that dialogue. Otherwise, guys, at some point, somebody on this phone call will be Pat this year calling for help when your client's been turned down at the last minute. Work with people that you know can get the job done, who are vetted, like the vendors in your office here. And consider that, again, we would love your support, and we ask for your support. And again, the best way to do that is to text or email, make a connection. That's the best way. As always, thanks so much, guys, in advance for your support. Thanks for your past support. Appreciate you so much. And Melissa, Terry, good to see you guys. Take care.
Matthew, thank you as always.
You bet.
So before we get rolling, we just have just a few things that they wanted me to announce. So the Facebook, the public page, some of you know, was hacked. And so it looks quite different right now. They just wanted me to let you know that it is the public Facebook page is supposed to be back up and running normal around January 9th. That's what they've been told. So it's gonna be a little bit odd until then. But while they're waiting for the Facebook public page to be cleaned up and back up and running, they are just gonna kind of hold off on the December top agents announcement until they gain full control of that Facebook page. So if you guys can be patient, I know everybody's worked hard. We have a lot of fantastic agents that, you know, that are just killing it. So just be patient. They'll get that announcement out. They are going to have an awards ceremony for 2022. It is going to be at the Barrel Room at the Blind Fox on February 9th. It's going to be at 2 p.m. It will be RSVP and dress nice, but they will send out more information later. And that's for now most of the announcements. I do want to say, compliance side, if you guys are doing coming soon, please make sure your dates on your coming soon form matches the dates on the listing agreement, matches what you actually put in MLS as far as putting it on MLS and when it goes live. Just make sure everything lines up. If MLS ever calls you on it, they're going to ask for all of your paperwork, and those dates need to be correct. And you do need to have your broker in charge sign your coming soon form where it says member participant. So everything needs to be on the up and up if you're going to do those. There's just been a few that have not been 100% as far as that's concerned, and I don't want anybody getting in trouble if MLS decides to call you on it. But everything else is looking good. Everybody's doing good. I hope everybody had a good holiday. And we're gonna let Terry take off with it. Terry, what you got?
Hey guys, so we're going to talk about the Buydown today. As we moved through last year, the Buydown got more and more popular. You started hearing more lenders talk about it, more people using it. Part of what allowed us to do that was as we moved towards, mid to late year, sellers started paying closing costs a lot more. In fact, I look back, out of the last 16 contracts that I've gotten, 10 sellers paid closing costs, and the closing costs ranged from $3,500 all the way up to $18,000. And that helps because on the Buydown, the seller has to fund the Buydown portion of it. On a conventional loan, the buyer can fund some of that subsidy, but on government loans, the seller has to fund the whole amount. So to make it kind of a basic idea of how the Buydown works, basically what you're looking at, we're just going to talk about the 2-1 Buydown today. There's also a 1-0 and there's a 3-2-1, but for everything we talk today, we're going to go 2-1. And what that means is the seller is funding a subsidy account. Think of it as kind of an escrow account. And that escrow account sets to the side and pays a portion of the buyer's payment each month for the first 2 years. The first year on the 2-1, the buyer is paying the payment as if the rate were 2 points lower. And then the second year, the buyer's paying the payment as if the rate were 1 point lower. So the seller is paying the additional portions of that payment. The rate going in is the same the whole time for the 30 years, but that subsidy account is making up the difference on the payment for the first 2 years. The first year, it makes it look 2 points lower. The second year, 1 point lower. And then if they still have that loan, they would go back to the regular rate and full payment. The reason people are doing this right now is everybody out there thinks rates are going to drop this year. So it gets people into the house with a lower rate and a lower payment for the first 2 years, but with an eye towards refinancing at some point, in the next probably 6 to 18 months. Every lender out there wants them to carry the loan at least 6 months. If they don't, they have an early payoff. So people buying today would probably refinance, July, August, September. I want to show you a couple of things. I like showing these items just because I think this is important information for you guys to know. Can you see the when will inflation peak screen right there? You guys see when will inflation peak? Somebody just say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. So if you look, we've been talking about this through a couple of meetings we've had. This is what Barry Habib has told us for months. He has said, inflation has peaked already. If you look back October and November, this was from 21. this was last year, inflation was 0.6 and 0.5% those 2 months. We replaced these two numbers with October and November numbers from 22. So we went from 0.6 to 0.3. We went from 0.5 to 0.2. And the way they calculate inflation, it's a year over year. They add all of these numbers together. And that's where they get the 6.7, the 7.2, whatever it is. So if you look, we're going to move forward the rest of next few months. We're replacing December, January, and February, which were 0.6, 0.6, and 0.5, hopefully with numbers that are more like the 0.2 and the 0.3. So the next few months, inflation should come down more, and that will help the mortgage rates. The reason the rates are so high is because of inflation. In March, we may hit a little brief period where maybe it doesn't move much, but then when you get to April, May, June, you're going to have probably 3 more months again where we likely are lower going forward, and it's going to pull inflation down even more. So we expect rates to be somewhere in the 5s, maybe in the upper 4s, as we approach mid-year towards the end of the year. So it's going to be ideal for people to get into houses now with a lower rate that can then refinance it to hopefully something that's even lower at that point. I like to show this screen. You guys, I guess, can still see this with the charts. If you look, November the 10th was the first inflation report that came out where inflation was a whole lot lower. This is the bond prices right here. And we want this to be green. As the bond prices go up, the mortgage rates go down. They work in reverse of each other. So you want to see a lot of green here, which we do since November the 10th. That was the first day inflation dropped a good bit. We got a spike, rates got a whole lot better. That's probably when we went from the 7.25 range to the 6.5 range on rates. And you can see for most of the next few months, we got better. There was a lull towards the end of the year between Christmas, right around Christmas. That always happens because people are out of their offices. There's not as much trade and there's more volatility, usually that, week to 10 days. Since we've hit the first of the year, we're getting a little bit better again, and that's typical as well. The 10-year treasury, as we've talked, when people ask, what should I follow to determine what rates are going to do? The 10-year treasury is what they need to look at. And you can see we want red in this because as the 10-year treasury drops, mortgage rates will go down. You see there's a lot of red. So again, pull this screen up a little bit. Since November the 10th, we've gotten better a whole lot of days. Again, had the lull right around Christmas and then starting to go back the other way again. So rates are going to get better as we move forward. So it gives you more opportunities to use this buy down. Here's what the buy down does. This is an actual scenario that I got the guys closing on Friday. And I put this spreadsheet together to kind of help everybody understand how this works. This is a purchase of $495. They got $4,000 in deposits. They got $14,000 in seller pays. And you can see the rate here is full 30-year rate, 6.99. The buy down subsidy is $11,186. This is the amount that the seller provides. Now the seller is given 14 in this case, so they're paying the subsidy plus a little bit more towards closing. So our closing cash at closing is a little bit lower. But this is the amount that we need to buy the rate down 2 points the first year and 1 point the second year. So you can see here, the total payment, if we were to pay the full, 6.99 rate, the total payment would be $3,561. It's right here under total payment. That includes principal and interest, taxes, insurance, and PMI. Because the seller gave us this subsidy amount, we're able to do a 4.99 rate the first year. So that payment becomes $2,944. Now, taxes, insurance, and PMI don't change at all. Where it's changing is obviously the principal and interest. So you can see it's roughly a $600 difference in the payment. And then for year 2, the rate would go to 5.99. So the payment goes up a little bit, but it's still less than the full payment at 35.61. We're at 32.45. So the subsidy here, basically what happens, just for easy math, let's use $600 difference. $600 is going to come out of this subsidy account each month to offset the full payment. This is the actual payment that's going to be made on behalf of the buyer. But the buyer for the first year is only going to pay this amount, the $29.44. The other $600 is coming out of that subsidy account that was set up by the seller. Does everybody understand that? That's how we're getting the rate 2 points better. One, I want to show you what a pricing sheet looks like for a lender. Let me pull this up real quick. When you have the other option that people have is they can buy down the rate. And you've probably seen lenders that said, you know, we'll pay points to buy down the rate. This is why buying down the rate as a permanent buy down is not smart. So let's take we'll do the same deal here. So I had a loan amount of $480,150. And a purchase price of $495. 70 credit score. All right, can everybody see that it's saying please wait right now? So this is what a pricing sheet looks like on here. Let's go, we'll go home ready. If you think about it, when we do the buy down, the rate for the first year is getting 2 points better. When people ask how much do we need the seller to pay to fund the subsidy account, typically it's about 2 to 2.5% when you're looking at a 2-1 buy down. So think of it in terms of points. 2 to 2.5 points is what the seller's paying for the buyer to be able to have the subsidy account that will offset the payment. A point is 1% of the loan. So this is a pricing sheet for a lender right now. So every lender out there is trying to price their loans. They call it par pricing. Par is 100 basis points. When you look at a final lock price, they want 100. So when people ask, what does it mean to buy down the rate? Typically, people will pay 1 point. So a lender's going to look at what is the rate at 99. So right here, you can see the rate at 99 is 6.375. If we were going to buy the rate down permanently and they paid 1 point, they would get a rate of 6.375. Well, if you think back to the spreadsheet we just had, we were getting a rate of 6.99, but the first year rate was 4.99. I can't even get 4.99 as a rate on this pricing chart. And if I were to buy the rate down to 5.25, I'm paying 4.5 points to get to that rate. Well, if people think they're going to have the opportunity to refinance this coming year, and they did a loan, and I've seen, you know, a couple of large name lenders that have had 2 and 3 and 4 points on loan estimates. 4.5 points on this loan cost the borrower $22,000. And if they pay that, the difference in the monthly payment, $26.51 right here versus, let's say, the $31.54. So they're getting a $500 difference in payment, but it cost them $22,000 to get that. So how many months do you have to keep that loan? In fact, how many years do you have to keep that loan for it to make sense to pay the points to get that rate? If they use the buy down, the seller's paying the subsidy for them. they're actually getting a better rate. And the best part of the subsidy in the buy down program, if they go to refinance the loan in the next 2 years, whatever amount is left in that subsidy account, they get to use towards their refinance. If you did a permanent buy down and you paid 2 points to buy the rate down, let's say we did 2 points to buy this rate down. Instead of 6.875, if we paid 2 points, we would be at 5.99. And that would cost $9,036. The subsidies covering it, we're getting a rate that's even better than 5.99. We're at 4.99. And whatever amount is left in that subsidy account, we get to use to refinance when we go to refinance. Let's go back to the spreadsheet real quick. So we had $11,186 in the subsidy account. Let's say in 6 months, we're going to refinance. Rates will have dropped, we'll refinance. Over 6 months, $3,600 would have come out of this subsidy to offset the payment. So we have what, like 7,500, 8,500, somewhere in that range left over. That would go to pay down the principal balance of the loan when we refinance. So they get the benefit of that when they refinance. To me, that's what makes the biggest difference on it. Because if you pay normal points on a permanent buy down, that money's gone. You've lost it. If you refinance, you don't get it back. With this, you get the better rate, the better payment for the first 2 years with an eye to refinance when rates drop, and you get to use that extra money that's left over for the refinance. Does that make sense? I think that's the hard part that people don't understand. I've had new home construction agents and lenders tell me you don't get to use the buy down money when you refinance. You 100% do. You will see this a lot right now. You got new construction builders offering $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, but they won't buy the rate down with it unless they do a permanent buy down. They 100% should be doing the 2-1 buy down, because you can get them a better rate and a payment, and they get to use that money if they refinance. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on how that works? Because you can see the difference that it made in his payment right here. You know, he's saving $600 a month. And as soon as we're able to refinance, whatever's left in this subsidy account, we'll get to use towards the refinance then as well. You can do this for primary residence or second homes, although second homes, it's not as appealing because the second home rates are so much higher. And they're already charging you multiple points on a second home. But for a primary residence right now, it makes 100% sense. The other factor from our end, we're having appraisals that are coming in $10,000 to $30,000 usually over contract price. Usually you will have it come in right at or maybe $1,000 over. But for the last few months, you know, sellers have had to drop prices to get homes sold. In those cases, that's the perfect opportunity to add back the subsidy account and let the buyer get the better payment, the lower rate, and they still get to use that money later if they refinance. Because if we continue to have high appraisals come in on lower contract prices, eventually those lower contract prices are going to catch up to us in appraisals down the road. So 4 to 6 months from now, when those lower prices start being used in comps, we're going to start seeing appraisal issues because of lower values. So you can keep that up. And what I talk to people about, I don't think people care about the price that they pay for their house as much as they do what's the payment. And this is how you can keep the payment lower, you know, initially for the first 2 or 3 years, depending on which one you use. The 3-2-1 buy down is even better. You get a 3-point better rate, but you have to have more subsidy. But again, it depends on the situation. There may be deals where you can get $18,000 or $20,000 in seller pays. And if they get that much, we can use that 3-2-1 to get them an even better payment for the first year. But that's how the program works. And the reason being is like I said, if you pay multiple points, you're not going to get a 2% better rate. You can see on the pricing chart, you know, the lock sheet, if you paid 4 points, you're only getting a rate that's 5.25 from a 6.875. We can pay 2.5 points, keep the subsidy, and get a rate that's 2 points better for the buyer. Does anybody have any questions about how that works?
Hey, Terry, Rick Rue.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, man. You were saying that the seller funds the subsidy. How do you get the seller to fund this?
Seller's going to fund it, and just basically you're negotiating for them to pay closing costs. So, you know, you want to get as much as you can as far as closing. And the time to do this too is if you're a listing agent, you know, and you've got a listing that's been on the market 30, 45, 60 days and hasn't had much movement. The typical move is to drop the price, which, you know, nobody wants to do. Everybody wants the max price they can get for their house. Instead of dropping the price, offer this buy down, you know, to the buyers and show them, hey, I can get you a rate that's 2 point better the first year, 1 point the second year, and a lower payment for the first 2 years. So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from the seller paid closing cost. It's just in how we use those costs. You can see on this spreadsheet, he got 14,000 in seller pays. We only needed 11. So the additional just brought the cash to close down that much further. And I can send you this spreadsheet for any situation. So like if you're a listing agent and you want to offer this program to buyers to appeal, to entice people to want to purchase using this, then you can pop in the numbers. So, you know, say we went with a $400,000 sale price. If we had 5,000 in deposits and we had 12,000 in seller paid closing costs, everything will update. I'll give you the subsidy amount. In fact, what I'll send you guys, do you see the screen that says temporary buy down subsidy estimate calculator? Can you guys see this one? All right, so I'll send you this because the only thing that won't change on that spreadsheet is the buy down subsidy amount, and it's based on the loan amount. So, you know, if we put in a $400,000 loan amount, and let's say the rate's 6.75, it'll change the subsidy to whatever the difference is. The way the subsidy is calculated, it's the difference for the payment from year one times 12, and the difference for the payment difference from year 2 times 12. All this number is the 9215 in this scenario is the 50780 times 12, the 26010 times 12, and that's added together because it's just the difference in the monthly payment for those first 2 years. So I can send you guys this. It actually has what the calculator would need if you did a 3-2-1. Obviously, the subsidy amount goes up because you're adding the third year in, and the third year is at a 3 point better rate. So the payment difference becomes more. You know, as that rate gets that much better, that difference is going to get better. So it's going to increase the subsidy amount. But like I said, I have, out of the last 10 deals I've had one that was 14,000 in seller pays. I got one that was 18,000 in seller pays, an 11,000, a 10,000. People are offering these amounts. And, you know, in some of these deals, maybe they had already dropped the price 20,000 and we went and added it back. And you think, why will you add it back? Well, you add it back because we can then take that as seller pays and make a bigger difference in the cash to close. And one thing I like about the spreadsheet, people always dicker over $1,000, you know, $2,000 difference in sale price. So at 400,000, and I'm just want to show you, look at the total payment on the first line here, 400,000, we're at payment of $2,900.77. If we change that $1,000 on the purchase price, the payment went up $7. So at 6.99%, you're roughly $7 per thousand. And I'll tell people all the time, you know, people will dicker over $5,000. All right. This is the house you want. Are you going to lose the house you want over $5,000, which is $35 a month? You know, in my mind, I'm always going to take the closing costs because the closing costs make a bigger difference for me. If I was at 400,000 here with 12,000 in seller pays, I'm 2,900. I'm 12,900 at closing versus if I go 395 with 7,000 in closing cost. My payment went down, what, $34? But I just brought $5,700 more to closing. And to me, I'll keep $5,700 in my pocket at an expense of $35 a month. Because the likelihood is I may not keep this house or this loan that long. You know, I may keep this house 3 years and sell it. So the spreadsheet is amazing as far as helping people understand how the numbers work. People call me all the time. If I want to save money, I'll just put more money down. Well, it doesn't really work that way. If you see every $1,000's $7 per month, the equivalent of you're giving up $10,000 more for the down payment to save $70. If I give you $10,000 to save money, I want to save at least car payment type money, you know, $300-400 a month, not $70.
Are you going to send this to everybody?
I can. Yep.
I
Yep.
would like a copy. That would be great. Thanks.
And if you have listings that you want specific to this, I can update it. I can go in and change the address here. It's not hard. I change the address. I'll run it to today's rates. And
I
then
definitely want it.
county taxes right here. You can pop in the new county taxes. You know, if it's a different house, just pop in a different tax number. I will send this out to people that don't have properties selected yet with a TBD address up here. I'll put the taxes at like a 1% tax rate. The insurance is already estimated at a percentage. So when they go in and pop in these numbers, it helps them because it's showing them what payment and cash to close is. And the biggest deal winner for us is when we're able to keep the price a little bit higher to get them a little bit more in seller pays because they see the difference in payments, not enough. People worry about what their payment is, what their cash at closing is, not what the price for the house is. And like I said, where we're seeing appraisals come in, appraisals have not been a concern coming in low. I think they will be in 6 or 7 months if we continue to drop sale prices because we're getting high appraisals in on everything right now. Does anybody have any other questions about it? It's good if you're a listing agent. You can look at this as a way to offer to your buyers. I actually bought a flip. Y'all will like this story. So I had a buyer about a month and a half ago that was under contract for a house at 225. The house was listed at 200. She got it at 225. It was a flip job. It was in terrible shape. It had raccoons living in the house. The person that was living there had torn everything up. There's no point in having an inspection on this house. She did. She terminated before the appraisal came back. And the listing agent also had the buyer on this deal. So I got wind that the buyer was going to terminate. I called the listing agent who happened to be the buyer's agent as well. I said, "Dear, she's going to terminate." She said, "Yeah." I said, "What's your thoughts on this house?" She said, "I was going to buy it before I listed it." I said, "Well, it's going to appraise well." And she said, "Yeah, I know." Well, so we humped the phone on that Friday, figuring that the girl was going to terminate, which she did on Saturday. Monday, the appraisal came in at $400,000. The girl was under contract at 225. So we ended up buying that as a flip house. So I've been going over every day for 3 or 4 hours, scraping popcorn ceilings, painting, tearing out carpet. It's been fun for me for a month. It's kept me from watching TV 3 or 4 hours every night when business got a little slower. But that appraisal coming in at 400,000, the way I'm gonna have the agent market that house is we can go on and list it at 390 and offer to give up 15,000, knowing it's gonna appraise, and we can offer the buy down immediately to the buyers. And the only reason I'm going to do it that way is I know there's 2 or 3 other houses in the area that are in that 380 price range that have been sitting for a few months that haven't had any movement. So I feel like if I can offer this one with the same price but a better payment, then I got a better chance to sell it quickly. So I think if you've got sellers that have been on the market for 30, 45, 60 days, you can get them to use this. They're not going to give up that much more money, because otherwise you're probably dropping the price $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to get it sold. This gives the buyer the funds they need for the buy down, keeps the price higher, so your buyer's net's going to be the same as if you were to drop it $25,000, and have to show a lower price to sell it. Melissa, if you can you get me a list of everybody that's on the call today? And then I can send everybody a copy of the spreadsheet. I'll send them a copy of the calculator.
Sure.
And then if anybody has any questions about how to use it, just feel free to call me. I can come sit down with you one-on-one. We can get on a quick call, Zoom, whatever we need to. But it's a very useful tool. It helps me win deals a lot, just because of the people see the numbers, and how they play out.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, glad to do it. Like I said, if anybody's got any questions on how to use it, it's hot right now, and there's a lot of people using it, a lot of people getting contracts as a result of it. Hopefully, we will see rates lower in 3 to 6 months, and we won't have to get as creative with some of it. But, all these people that are sitting on the sidelines right now, if you can get them re-involved right now when people are paying closing costs, if rates go back into the 4s and 5s, I think you're going to see a lot more people hit the market again. I think there's a lot of pent up frustration right now. People will be coming back, and it'll probably be game on with, multiple offers. And if you're a listing agent, that's great. That's what you want. If you're a buyer's agent, it makes it hard again. We've told people for 6, 8 months, get into the game now. Prices are where people are offering seller pays. It's easier to get a deal right now than it may be in 6 months if rates are lower. I think you have a bunch of people sitting in homes that are 2.5% to 3.5% rates, and it's hard to get them to move to a 6.5% rate. But if rates go back in the 5s and they need more space for their family, or they're moving because of job, I think you can justify 3.5 to 5.5, for a bigger house, more room, better location. And they're going to see more people jump back into the game at that point. Well, thank you guys. If nobody has any questions, that's all I got on this. But like I said, feel free to call, and I'll get you guys a copy of the spreadsheet. I'll get you a copy of the calculator. And if you have any questions on how to use it, feel free to call anytime.
Terry, I appreciate it. Before everybody runs for the hills, just want to let everybody know next week, January 10, we have 2 classes back to back, but they are going to be at the EOC room in the Kannapolis City Hall, up the street from the office. They fit about 25 people. It is going to be Kim Draculich's TikTok media class at about 9:20. And then we have lunch coming, and then around 11, a little after 11, Jeremy Aldridge is going to do one for us on how to get started in real estate investing. I know a lot of people are looking at that. I'm looking forward to both classes, but they are next week. We are going to try to Zoom them as well, but because we have lunch coming, and because the EOC room only holds 25 people, if you all could just send me an email with an RSVP, I'll try to send an email out as well as a reminder. But if you can come in person, do so. If not, watch it on Zoom. I think they'll both be beneficial. to probably everybody. Even if you're not into real estate investing, you might pick up some helpful information that you can use for buyer clients, so, or sellers. So, but that's all I have to say on that. Terry, I really appreciate it. And I will hang out so we can make sure we get a copy of this Zoom.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day. Hey, Melissa, so if I stop the recording right now,
It should. Okay,
it should
so
save it.
it will automatically save it. However, when you first started to record, it probably asked you at that point if you wanted to record in the cloud or on your computer. And I don't know what you
All right.
chose.
All it said was got it.
Oh,
So let me see. I'm just gonna hit stop recording.
mhm.
Oh, wait, it did do my to the cloud. Are you sure you want to stop recording to the cloud? Which, how did it record to the cloud? I don't think I have a cloud on this one. So should I say yes?
Well, I mean, if that's how it recorded to it, then yes. I mean, I don't think you have another